Hello, welcome to our session today. My name is Stella, and our session is EFT tapping for darker winter days. And there's a lot to explore around that. So we will be looking at some of the difficulties around the darker days as we go into this part of the year. But we'll also be picking out some of the ways that we can find some glimmers, some positives, some lightness in that as well, some gratitudes to help carry us through. And also honouring that it is a natural part of the seasons, Mother Nature, the cycle, and also for us as humans. But we will just begin just by setting the scene, settling in. So my name is Stella, as I said, and I share sessions on the Virtual Village Hall regularly. You might be brand new to my sessions, or perhaps you've come along to a session before. I do tend to do EFT tapping that we'll do today, or Qigong, which is a very gentle moving exercise with breath. But it's all about well-being. It's all about mind-body connection and healing, and really importantly about finding some kindness towards ourselves and relaxation, creating a bit of space for that healing, that calmness, just shutting out the noise in the outside world that can feel a lot sometimes. Just creating a bit of space here together where we can settle a bit more into our body, where we can find a bit more peace and contentment. So if that sounds good, then you're in the right place. And for this session, you really don't need anything other than a nice, safe space where you won't be disturbed, ideally. I understand that sometimes, we only have so much control over that, but whatever we can do just to have a bit of space for the session, and also some refreshments. So I've got a glass of water and a hot tea as well, just to really make sure that I am nice and hydrated. I invite you to do the same. Anything you need that's going to help you be comfortable, whether that's a nice cozy jumper, an extra blanket, please, I invite you to do that now. Maybe a cushion for your back. And when we do this work, we are being real gentle in this session. But you might find, depending on where you are in your life and your mood and all of this at the moment, we're all on our own unique path and experiences. You might decide that you need to pause this and come back to it at another time. So remember, you can do that. The sessions can be watched back. So that's a good option. Sometimes we don't want to do it all at once. We might just do it in little snippets. And you are the best person to judge whether you are feeling up to this kind of work today. So as I said, it'll be real gentle, but it can still stir up emotions, and it depends where we're at. Sometimes we feel less resilient, don't we, if we've got more going on in our head, in our life. And sometimes our bucket might be towards the top where it's quite easily going to overflow. So you're the best person to judge where that line is in your bucket. And if at any time in this session you feel like, oh, it's a bit too much in terms of emotions, it might be coming up, and I invite you to take a pause, do what you need to do, have a cuppa, call somebody for a chat, whether that's a friend, or we know there's lots of support lines out there. So just to reiterate, take really good care of yourself, basically. Okay. So EFT for darker days, why this topic? Well, the fact that you've come along means that you probably can imagine why you're probably drawn to this topic for a reason. But sometimes you might just come along and try something and not have any idea what to expect. So I'll say a little bit about that and also tell you a bit more briefly about EFT tapping for those that are new to it. Darker winter days can have a big impact on us. And there's something about, we're all different. Some people just love and embrace winter, but for some of us it's harder. And I confess, I'm one of those. I'm a summer girl. I like it when the sun is shining, the days feel longer, and I feel more energized. I don't like being cold, and I really feel the cold, so that takes energy. So yeah, we all got our own thing, our own stuff around the darker days. But it can certainly have an impact on our energy levels. We might find it harder with our mood. We might feel less motivated. We know that vitamin D and the energy the sun gives us is really important. And actually it can have an impact on our health, mentally, emotionally and physically, because it's all connected if we're not getting that. As I said that, the sun started to come out here in Norfolk, which was a nice sign. But yes, so we know that it can impact us. There are conditions such as SAD, seasonal affective disorder, where some people are more affected than others by a lack of the sunlight. So it is very much a real thing. That said, there are also really wonderful things about this season that I would like to just pick out and let us sort of hold and explore a bit today. And some of those things, I mean, you might, and I hope you'll find things that you might think of and connect with that are different to mine. But the things that I would offer as suggestions are things like the cycles. So we know that nature has its cycles, and we're very much entering a part of that cycle together. And we're not meant to be switched on, going with that sort of more intense summer energy all the time. If we did that all year round, we'd totally burn out, which actually is partly what happens to a lot of us, because we're less in connection with those seasons, the natural rhythm of Mother Nature and the human cycle. So if we're switched on, going, full energy all year round, and we don't have the time to kind of hibernate and restore our energy levels and rest, we're not getting everything we need in terms of replenishing our system. So it can be an opportunity these darker days in the winter season to find more rest, to listen to the body, to go a bit slower, to be maybe more mindful and present. And there are really beautiful things about this season that we've just really can see now coming into its moment with autumn, all the colours in the leaves, all the changes in nature, the way the leaves float down and land on the ground. There's real beautiful things in that we can pick out amongst those darker days. Hopefully, you're already finding a bit of inspiration in that. We'll share that a bit more for a gentle meditation to begin. But as I said, I'll just say a little bit about EFT. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. I will be brief in case you've been here before and heard this, but it's a mind-body therapy. It's an energy psychology. And what we're doing is we're working with the whole system. It's a holistic approach. And it's based in traditional Chinese medicine. So in traditional Chinese medicine, we're working with the whole system, and we're working with meridians that are like streams that go through the body, through the system, where life force, energy, chi moves through. And this is what we work with in Qigong as well. But that system, those streams get blocked for different reasons in life. Different events that happen, emotional traumas, physical injuries, just life, overwhelm, toxins, you name it, it can have an impact on us. Even though we're resilient, we're also deeply sensitive beings in many ways. EFT helps to move the energy through. So we combine the body, what we feel, and the energy that's stuck and trapped in the body. We combine that with the mind, cognition, speaking, verbalizing, thought patterns to unhook some of the stuck energy, the stuck thoughts, stuck emotions. So in this session, we'll focus on those stuck energy and emotions around winter and the darker days. And we help that move through. We help clear the stream. You can imagine like debris and rocks and rubble that are in this stream. They begin to break down, to move and to float along the stream. And that means our energy can flow more clearly. And when our energy flows more clearly, we feel better. We feel lighter. We feel more grounded. We feel more freedom. We just feel more like the best version of ourselves. Mm-hmm. So if that sounds good, then tap along with me. But we'll start by doing a grounding meditation together, as I promised. And that's really important because a lot of the practice of EFT tapping is about connecting with the body. So for some of us, that might feel really strange. Maybe you don't do that. You might be a bit disconnected from the body. And it's not your fault. That's a real common thing in the modern Western world. We're kind of brought up to disconnect from our body. In order to keep going and to keep busy and to function and to produce. But actually, it's really essential that we do connect. And also, if there's any trauma, it can be really complex connecting with the body. So if that is relatable for you, I would ask that you go very, very gentle. You can skate over sensations in the body, or you can step this out and come back to it when you feel more resourced and resilient. this meditation is a good chance to just as gently begin to dip your toe into that connecting and see what feels right for you today. So I would invite you to get as comfortable as you can. And we're going to start by taking some nice grounding breaths. We want these breaths to be coming from the belly. So as we breathe in, we want to expand the belly. And as we breathe out, we want to feel like that belly deflates like a balloon and to soften and let go of some of what we're holding, some tension, releasing from the shoulders, releasing from the tummy. And also what we're trying to do is making sure we're not breathing those shallow breaths from the chest. So you might know that you're a shallow breather, or you might not be sure and you might discover it. Try not to make it wrong. It's okay. We just can send the intention to really breathe up from that belly. And a way that we can help ourselves to do that, if you pop your hands behind your back and then you breathe in from the belly, it's easier to get that expansion of that balloon in your belly and then the deflation. We'll do some together. We'll take a breath in together, expanding that belly balloon. And then breathe out, letting it deflate and soften. Let's do 4 more of those together. Eyes open or closed. And on this last one, let your body soften and relax a little bit more. So now's a good time to close your eyes if you haven't already, or keep them closed if you feel comfortable and safe to do that. And I'd like you to begin to get really aware of the positioning of your body. So if you're seated, notice the chair that's holding you. Notice how it feels underneath you and that weight of your body on that chair. If you're laid down, you can do the same with the bed or whatever's underneath you, the ground. Connecting with that space around you. And invite your body to soften and relax and melt down into that material. Becoming a bit more as one. So that gap, that boundary between you and whatever your body's on begins to become smaller, thinner. As your energies, your weight begins to just merge together. Keep up those belly breaths if you can. Softening the body a few percent is enough to invite in change and healing and relaxation. Okay. And I'm going to count you down. And in that process, I want you to imagine that you are sinking more deeply into this space. We're just going to go on a short journey together through the woods. To begin, just hear these numbers, and you might imagine a number floating up in front of you and floating away. Maybe you'll just hear it, but the key thing is to allow it to direct you down to a more relaxed, open state. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I'd like you to use your wonderful imagination, and however that unfolds, however your mind works is perfect. If you are visual, I'd like you to imagine that you're entering vast woodlands, and it's not too big that you'd get lost, but it's not so small that you'd feel trapped. It's the perfect size for you just to have a moment, a time of freedom. And ahead of you, there's a long stretch, and there's trees arching on either side. And if you're not visual, use your other senses. Be aware of the space, how it feels to be there, any sound you might hear. And talking of sounds, I'd like you to notice that there's the sound of the wind moving through the trees. And as the wind moves through the trees, the branches begin to move and shake. And as the branches begin to move and shake, the leaves begin to fall. And you realize that these leaves have been ready to fall for a while. And you're here at the perfect moment. All of the leaves, so many leaves begin to float and drift down to the ground. And all the beautiful autumnal colours, the oranges, the reds, the yellows, begin to cover the ground like a sea of beautiful autumn. And I want you to notice how it feels for you to walk through this sea of beautiful leaves. There might be a crunching, really satisfying crunch under your foot. Perhaps as you step, you brush the leaves to a side, you hear that swooshing sound. You might be playful as you walk and kick and move the leaves. I'd also like you to notice that those branches on the trees are bare. Becoming more aware of how natural that is. That in this process, the trees have released and let go. You know that those buds, those leaves will come back when the time is right. And these trees are beginning to hibernate. The woods is beginning to hibernate, getting a bit darker, a bit heavier, more quiet, more still. Every year this happens, and every year the spring and the summer comes. Right now, let yourself just be in this slightly darker woods. You know that it's daytime, but you can't see the blue sky shining just yet. And yet, you can appreciate these gorgeous leaves, this beautiful space. I'd like you to find a bench. This bench is facing the biggest tree in this woods. It's a large oak tree, and the trunk is so big you can't wrap your arms around it. It's huge. You might call this the mother tree of the woods. And it feeds all these other trees. They're all connected in a web of roots and connecting tendrils, all beneath the earth. You can't see it, but you can be aware that it's there. And as you sit on this bench, allow yourself to just be. There's nothing to do, there's nowhere to go. It's quiet, it's still. And perhaps you invite this stillness and this quiet, this hibernating season into your being just a few percent more. Doesn't have to be huge amounts, just a little is enough. What would that be like for you to have more stillness? Perhaps more presence, perhaps more beauty, and more awe. Taking in the scene around you, turning the sensations of beauty and awe up, and up. And ask yourself, what would it be like to appreciate this time of year more? How might you be able to benefit from the winter, darker days more? And you don't need the answer if you're not sure, that's okay. If there's a part of you that thinks that's never going to happen, that's okay too. We can just ask the question and almost see it float off like a boomerang into the woods, and it will come back later another time. Might be a feeling or a thought or an answer. We can be curious about it. Take a few nice deep belly breaths. And you can gently bring yourself back and softly open the eyes. Thank you for joining me on that little journey together. So we'll go into some tapping. As I said, you don't need anything for this session, but a paper and a pen can be useful if you like to journal and take notes, because you might have some thoughts, some awarenesses that come up that you want to return to a bit later after our session. But also you might have a good memory and be able to remember anyway. Okay, so let's start tapping the outside of the hand here. And whilst we're tapping together, please make sure that you don't tense and hold things in. So we really want to be as relaxed as possible, as soft as possible in the body. And if you feel like you want to yawn, to cough, to laugh, to cry, anything like that, or even burp, the key is to let it happen. Don't hold it in, don't hold it back, because you're holding back that energy that's moving through your meridians. If you remember from the start, you want that to move through and to release. And that's one of the ways. Those are some of the ways that we release that energy. Okay. So tapping this point, I'd like you to become aware of how you feel about darker winter days. So start to think about this time of year, entering winter, entering autumn and winter, and see what it brings up for you. So I'll tell you what it might bring up for me. Might feel a bit heavy, like the sense of everything feels a bit heavier, everything takes more energy, feels a bit more barren, cold, or tired. So see what it brings up for you, and you can note it down or just become aware. And if you're not sure, that's okay. There's no right or wrong in this practice. And begin to see if you notice sensations in your body. So if you're thinking about these darker days in winter, do you have a sinking feeling in your tummy? Do you have a tension in your head? Maybe a tightness in the chest? Just see what you notice. It might be a heaviness. So your body might feel heavy all over for a particular part. And see if there's any colours, any shapes, any material and textures. So maybe it's like this dark grey, or maybe it's a dark blue. Maybe it's really solid in there in your chest or your tummy, or maybe it's more like this cloud that keeps moving, pulsing. Becoming a little bit more aware, if we can, of how it shows up in our body. A response, a sensation. Remember, if you don't feel anything, that's okay. You can work with that. So if it's a numbness, just name it as a numbness. Remember to keep breathing. And then I'd like you to guess if there is an emotion attached to that feeling, what would it be? And when I say emotion, we use that term loosely in EFT. So if you think of something and you think, well, that's not technically an emotion, it doesn't matter. Could be what we traditionally think of as an emotion, but it could also be like stress, tension. See what word comes up for you. And note those down mentally or pen and paper, because I'll support you to bring those in. The more specific we can be about what you are feeling and the words for you, the more you're going to shift and move the energy along those streams. So repeat after me, and what we're going to do is we'll do a setup statement. We'll say it 3 times together. And this is about balancing the heaviness, or the what we'd say the negative. I do this because there's no such thing as positive and negative emotions. It's all just energy. We label them as positive or negative, like happy and sad. But actually, it's just energy. When we make the negative emotions wrong, we cause issues, because that's when we suppress, tense the system, and the blockages will happen or increase. So let's try and shake off this idea of any emotions being negative or positive, and just see what comes and be curious. So we'll combine a bit of acknowledging that heaviness, and then bringing in some acceptance and compassion for ourselves if we can. Okay, repeat after me out loud or in your head. Out loud is best, but whatever feels right for you is fine. Even though when I think of the darker days, It makes me feel, and I want you to finish that sentence. How does it make you feel? What have we just explored? What came up for you? Does it make you feel heavy? Does it make you feel sad? Does it make you feel anxious? And right now, I'm going to try to accept myself anyway. And it's okay if you have resistance to that. A part of you might be like, no, I'm not going to accept myself with this feeling. I don't want it. And that's totally natural. That's why we say I'm going to try. So we soften that a bit to make it a bit less confrontational. And repeat after me. Even though when I think about the darker winter days, it fills me with, finish the sentence, and it makes me feel. So you can list any emotions, feelings, sensations in your body, any colours, any shapes. And in this moment, I'm going to try to accept myself with this feeling a little bit more today. Nice deep breath. Even though the darker winter days, they bring this sense of, finish the sentence, and I feel it in my body. Where do you feel it? What does it feel like? Nice deep breath. And I'm going to try to be kind to myself and to accept these feelings. Okay, we're going to tap at the top of the head, doesn't matter where on the head. Nice deep breath. Soften the body and the shoulders a bit more. So now we're going to go through some shorter statements. I'll try not to go too quickly through the points. I will tell you when we're moving on to another point, but you might need to, if you've got your eyes closed, you might need to just open them every now and then to check. But don't worry if you miss a point, it's not a big deal. Darker days. Tapping the inner eyebrows, so just where your eyebrows begin on both sides. Winter, darker days. The temple on either side of the eye, nice deep breath. It makes me feel. Underneath. And I feel that in my body. Where do you feel that in your body? Under the nose. Darker days. Underneath, above the chin. I struggle with the winter, darker days. So we're going to tap under the arm. It can be on either side. You can do both if you want to, like this. But yeah, just lift up the arm slightly, and we're just tapping where the bra strap would be if you wear a bra. Tapping on the side. If you can't do any of these points for disability, mobility, or injury reasons, that's not a problem. Just miss them out. You can imagine tapping that point, or keep tapping points that you are able to do comfortably. Nice deep breath. The darker days ahead. I can't wait for summer. I can't wait for the spring light. Tapping the wrist. If I'm really honest with myself, part of me struggles with the darker days. And we're going to tap, and we're going to go for every finger, starting with the thumb, tapping on both sides of where your nail bed begins, just like so. Nice deep breath. Darker winter days. Next finger, same again, both sides of that where the nail bed begins. And repeat, darker winter days. And again. These darker winter days ahead. And again. Part of me wishes it was spring and summer. And again. But I know we're entering winter now. Darker winter days. We'll go straight up to the top of the head again. Darker winter days. Inner eyebrows. It makes me feel. How does it make you feel? Heavy, sad. outer eyes. When I think about the darker winter days, I get this feeling in my body. What's that feeling you get in your body? And it might change as we tap. So you might have started with a feeling in like the chest, and it might move to your head or your tummy, underneath the eyes. Darker winter days, under the nose. I prefer it when there's more light. Above the chin, under the mouth. I don't like the darker winter days as much. Tapping here just under the collarbone. There's a soft spot just here on both sides. Nice deep breath. The darker winter days, I'm not looking forward to them. So if you're somebody that doesn't feel that strongly about the darker winter days, you can acknowledge you have parts. So there might be a part of you that isn't really bothered or is content with the seasons. And there might be a part of you as well alongside that doesn't like the darker days as much, that does feel a bit tight. So you can connect into that part that will help you move something in this session. So repeat after me. There's a part of me that is not looking forward to these darker winter days, that much prefers the sunshine and the light, just wants to curl up and rest and hide onto the arm. I have less energy in winter, but maybe that's the point. Tapping the wrist, either wrist is fine. Maybe it's time to rest. Maybe it's time to hibernate. I wonder what the benefit of that would be. So that's a question, like that boomerang in the meditation, we can just put out there, and we don't need an answer, but you might find that an answer comes to you in this moment. So we can ask again, what might the benefit of really resting over winter be for me? Tapping either side of the thumb. Darker winter days. Next finger. They make me feel. How do they make you feel? Next finger. I'm going to try to accept myself anyway. Next finger. Because winter is natural. Next finger. And I am connected to nature. Okay. Take a moment. Take a breath. I invite you to have some water or tea or whatever you've got near you. And also, if you've got pen and paper and want to note something down, just take a moment to connect with that process and anything that you felt in your body, anything that came up for you. You might find that you feel a more intensity of the feelings. I think I'm going to sneeze in a moment. I do apologise. You might feel an intensity of the emotions and the feelings in your body, or your resistance to winter, or you might feel that it's lifted a bit and that it's moved. So just be curious. There's no right or wrong. But if it does feel more intense, don't worry, because sometimes things have to get a bit more intense before they can release and leave our system. So we use the analogy of the water in the streams, the energy flowing. We can also use the analogy, we've got all this energy, these emotions, this stuff that builds up on the bottom of like a riverbed, and we need it for that water to become clear and healthy. We need that debris that's been collecting there to come up and up and up to the surface before it can leave the water, and that river can be nice and clear. So sometimes as it comes up to leave, we notice it more, we feel it more. It's more obvious. That can be a part of the process. It's a fascinating process. Okay, so we'll do some more tapping together. We'll continue with this really nice gentle theme, but just remember to really make it as personal to you as possible. So I want you to see if there's any new words or emotions or feelings that come up for you. Perhaps you might even remember a particular time during the winter, maybe when you were younger, where you found it was less fun, less playful, you can work with that memory. You might have noticed that one area of your body that you were feeling has moved and you feel something in another area. Make sure you address that when you are finishing the sentences and the tapping. So yeah, just make it specific and accurate as you can to what you're feeling. And remember what I said about checking in. So do you feel resilient? Do you feel comfortable to carry on tapping? You can always come back to this another time. Okay, tapping the outside of the hand. Either hand is fine, it doesn't matter. Nice deep breath. So it's the outside on the side of the little finger. Soften the body, soften the shoulders, and repeat. Even though I've been thinking about the darker winter days, and it's been making me feel, finish the sentence. And this shows up in my body. So if you're still struggling with how to connect to what's showing up in your body, you can ask yourself, if you notice how you feel about the darker winter days, you can ask yourself, how do you know that you feel that way? Sometimes that can help us unlock a bit more connection to what's happening in the body. So it might be like, oh, because I feel tense or heavy or resistant when I think about the darker days. So even though when I think about the darker winter days, I have these feelings in my body. It makes me think. Does it make you think? What comes up for you? And it makes me feel any extra layers of feeling and sensations and emotions. And right now, I'm going to try to accept myself anyway and to accept the natural cycle of life. Nice deep breath. Even though when I think about the darker winter days, it makes me feel, and I know that I feel that way because how does it show in your body? What sensations in the mind and the body? And in this moment, I'm going to try to accept this natural rhythm of life and to notice the beauty within it. So if you're like, no, I'm not going to do that, there is no beauty, that's okay. That's okay. Don't fight it. Just soften into that as much as you can. Even though when I think about the darker winter days, it makes me feel, how does it make you feel? And it shows up in my body. And also it shows up in my life. So you could list, makes me feel tired, I do less, I feel more lonely, whatever it is. And in this moment, I give myself permission to feel this way. And I open to the possibility of enjoying the seasons more. I want you to see if you can connect with that meditation at the start, with those trees and the leaves and the colours. Take yourself to that woods if you can, and just feel that as much as you can. Nice deep breath. Tapping the top of the head again, and repeat, darker winter days, inner eyebrows, darker winter days, outer eyes. We're just going to keep repeating. Darker winter days, under the eyes. The darker winter days, under the nose. The darker winter days, under the mouth above the chin. These darker winter days, collarbone. Winter, dark, heavy, cold, whatever words, adjectives come to you. Under the arm, either side, remember, the darker winter days. The wrist, again, those adjectives of heavy, cold, dark, tired. And the thumb, darker winter days. next finger. Darker winter days, next finger. These darker winter days, next finger. Darker winter days, next finger. Darker winter days. We're just going to keep going through these to really help clear some of that debris. Darker winter days in our eyebrows. These darker winter days. Tapping the outside of the eye. Let's list some of those adjectives, whatever feels right for you. Heavy, cold, quiet, long, under the eyes. These darker winter days. Under the nose. Darker winter days. Under the mouth, just above the chin. These darker winter days. Collarbone on both sides, nice deep breath. Heavy winter days. Part of me struggles with the darker days. Part of me also understands it. Knows that it's a natural part of the seasons. And that there can be beauty in it too. Under the arm. But this other part of me doesn't agree. This other part thinks, no, not these winter days. Sometimes it can help to really let out a sigh. Like if you're at home by yourself, you don't need to worry, nobody can hear you. You can be like, ugh. How do you feel about these dark winter days? Is it like a, ugh, not that? You can really let that out as a big sigh, a sound. It's all about energy moving, remember? Tapping the wrist, either one. Repeat, darker winter days. Tapping the thumb either side. These darker winter days. Next finger. They make me feel. How do they make you feel? Next finger. These darker winter days. Next finger. The cold, the heavy, the quiet. Next finger. Darker winter days. Okay. Take a moment. Soften the body. Acknowledge anything that came up for you. Any awarenesses, any thoughts, any emotions, any movements around the body. How do you feel in your body? And note it down. Just be curious about it. Remember, there's no right or wrong. So we're going to do one more round before we close together, and it will be about bringing in a bit more of that lightness. So if we use the analogy that we're clearing the stream, we clear the stream of that debris that's been clogging and blocking it. That means we've got more space and more room to bring in something a bit lighter, something that flows more freely. And for us today, that can be finding those glimmers, those beautiful autumn leaves, finding the positives in being able to rest. So we can also acknowledge that we're in this together, that we're all human beings and we're living on this planet we call Earth that has its beautiful, amazing seasons. And a lot of us struggle with the darker winter days. So we're not on our own with this. It can feel like it, but you're tapping along with me and other people doing this session now live, but also when they watch it back. So that can really help with the acceptance part as well, accepting ourselves with whatever we're feeling. So tapping the outside of the hand, nice deep breath. Even though we've been exploring the darker winter days, and part of me does find them difficult, there's also another part of me that I'm really curious about. And they might like to find the beauty in the darker days. The beauty in the autumn leaves. The beauty in the hibernating bear. The beauty in a time of rest, restoration, recharging my batteries. To embrace the season of spring and summer even more when they come. Top of the head, we'll just do a shorter round this time. The darker winter days. Inner eyebrows. Part of me could enjoy them more. Outer eyes. But they're darker winter days. Under the eyes. Maybe there's some beauty in them. under the nose. But they're darker winter days under the mouth. Maybe I can flow with the seasons more. Darker winter days under the arm. Maybe I can seek out the moments of beauty. Maybe I can find them each day, tapping the wrist. But they're darker winter days, tapping the thumb. And the light will always come, next finger. But they're darker winter days, next finger. I'm going to try to accept myself with these feelings, next finger. I'm going to try to accept Mother Nature with these seasons, next finger. I'm going to try to embrace the darker winter days a little bit more. Okay, let's place our hands on our chest and our heart. Soften the shoulders, take a nice deep breath. And I'd like you to again close the eyes and take yourself back to that woodland. And it's as if it hasn't changed. It's still the way that it was when you left. So the branches are still empty of those leaves. You're walking through an ocean of beautiful autumnal crispy leaves, all those beautiful colours. This time I want you to walk past that giant oak tree and that bench. And I'd like you to find a little stream just running through the centre of the woods or on the outside, wherever your imagination takes you. And I'd like you to see that in that stream, there is a blockage, there's a build-up. Maybe it's like rubbish that people have left. Maybe it's just blocks and stones that have created a sort of dam. Just locate that block. And I'd like you to begin to clear it. So you can do it physically. You might sort of just begin to pull them out. Or maybe you just use the power of your mind and they begin to dissolve and move. However that stream begins to clear for you, let it happen. And see that as it does, the water's so clear, it becomes crystal clear. You can see right through it and it's flowing so easily. Perhaps you can hear the sound of that flowing water. You can see light shimmering on the surface. You might even want to dip your feet in it and feel the coolness of it over your feet, your ankles. Or maybe just walk alongside it and follow it through the woods. This is a meditation that you can visit as often as you want to. And meditation can feel like a really big word, but actually just closing your eyes for a few minutes and imagining it, imagining being in that quiet stillness of the winter woods, imagining that stream clearing those blocks and that water running more clearly, and how that feels in your body. If we can connect with a few percent more of acceptance, of peace, of softness in the body, feeling a few percent more lightness and possibility and positivity around these darker days, that is enough to begin to shift and move our energy and to move those blocks. Sometimes we feel we have to move things so quickly and we have to shift our state so dramatically for change. And it's not true. Small incremental changes are really, really powerful. So if just every day for a week even, or maybe once a week for a good few weeks, you connect into that meditation, that visualization of the winter woods and the peace and the beauty you can find in it. Maybe it changes each time you visit it. Being near that stream, watching the water, maybe you put on some music, some calming music in the background, or maybe it's literally closing your eyes when you are just taking a moment in between tasks. That's all good stuff. Yeah, it's not homework, but it is there for you to explore if you want to. But let's accept ourselves as much as we can, or whatever comes up for us around these darker days. It can be real tough. And as I said, you're not alone. You've been tapping along with other people, and it is a part of the human nature, like wanting to hide, wanting to hibernate. And when we live in a world that doesn't really allow us to hide and hibernate without judgment or whatever else comes with that, not being as productive or useful, then we can make it wrong. But actually, just like that bear, those animals that hibernate over winter, that need to replenish, to really just recharge their batteries. Maybe we could allow ourselves a bit more of that. And what would that be like? Thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed this session. I needed it as much as you. And I'll be back again soon, later this month for some Qigong, and I'll also be back for some EFT again very soon. So thank you so much for joining. Make sure that you drink lots of water today. So what we've just done is healing work. Just like when you get a massage, you're encouraged to really hydrate, drink more water than you usually would. Then I encourage you to do that. And it is ideal if it's water. Herbal tea is okay, but ideally we want to replenish, not with caffeinated drinks. So water's ideal. And listen to your body. If you need to rest, then allow yourself to do that. And if you feel any different emotions or things coming up, you can journal. But obviously speak to somebody and support in your life if you need to, whether that's a professional person or somebody that you know personally. Take really good care of yourself in the darker winter days, and I look forward to sharing with you again. Thank you very much.